Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This is Eric Malzone with the Future of Fitness podcast. This is episode number 17, and I am talking to Evie Fatz of EvieFatz.com. There was a lot that went on in this conversation. Evie's one of my favorite people. You'll hear in this conversation how just energetic she is, how honest she is, how unafraid to be vulnerable. All these things that just make her into an incredibly likable person, and I think somebody that people genuinely just gravitate towards. But in this conversation, a lot of stuff that goes on. We talk about the importance of contemplating your death on the reg, right? I know that's going to sound weird, but just give it a chance. Don't tune out right now. The other thing was we talk about women in fitness and how that has evolved so much, and how doing things like lifting heavy weights or doing intense workouts is now changing women and their whole portrayal of themselves and how they look, and how that expands into changing every other aspect of her life. So that was a really cool topic. And then finally, we also get into what she's doing now. So she has got two programs going on that are online. She does a lot of remote coaching, Couch to Confidence, and then the new program she's coming out with, which is Eat. So she has a vision to change the world, and by simply teaching people how to eat properly. And that sounds so basic, but it's completely overlooked, and it's a huge thing, and I think she's the one to do it. So I hope you enjoy it. Before that, let's talk about our sponsor. And this episode is brought to you by The Machine, Fit Pro Edition. So now, finally, 2017 full stack digital marketing agency service is now available to the everyday fitness professional. So what is it? What are we talking about? What's The Machine? Machine is a periodized marketing system, right? Just like fitness. It's based on decades of fitness industry experience and trends and Google predictive analytics. So it's completely ROI driven, but it's so much more, right? After the 13-month program, every client of The Machine will have an automated and evergreen marketing system that choreographs all the aspects of digital and traditional marketing. So we're talking about email funnels, pay-per-click advertising with Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, search engine optimization, content marketing, social media content, co-branding, and so much more. So get off the cycles of crash diet marketing that is just incredibly prevalent in the industry today, and automate your marketing and lead generation the right way. That's the end goal here. And the end goal is really actually what you want, which is entrepreneurial freedom. So if you're interested, contact me directly, eric@fitnessmarketingalliance.com, ERIC, and we'll have a nice little conversation about you and your business and see if this is the right program for you. That being said, let's move on to the show. Evie Fatz. Hey everybody, this is Eric with the Fitness Marketing Alliance, and today I have the absolute pleasure of sitting with Evie Fatz of EvieFatz.com, and she is quite a personality. She's quite fun to talk to, and she's also one hell of an athlete and an extremely good coach, and she's now starting a new online business, which is really exciting, and we're really happy to play a part in that as well. So Evie, welcome. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Always awesome to talk to you. Always a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. So I start off everyone with, I want to know your fitness story. What's your fitness story? Everyone's got one. Every fit pro has one. So how did you get to where you are? What led to it, through athletics to coaching to?
I'll keep it brief. There's really actually not a huge history there. That's the funny thing. I was not big into team sports or anything else growing up. Gymnastics, dabbled in it a little bit, but nothing competitive. In high school, I played volleyball, was a cheerleader. As like a female, I really just cared about like being skinny, right? More than I cared about sports. Like, I'm willing to say that now that I'm in my mid 40s, like no shame in that. So really my focus was always just to like do something to look good, and have fun, and not really anything competitive. And then I really did nothing when I was in college. Oh, I taught aerobics. That's actually funny. I taught aerobics classes, so I'm aging myself. I'll be 45 next month, right? So I totally was involved in the era of aerobics and step classes.
Awesome.
So when I was in college, I like full on bright leotard, right? Bright tights and taught step aerobics classes in college. Thankfully, that was like way before social media, so there's no actual footage and evidence of it, but it did happen.
Well, interesting side note, what's still alive and well, although it's not as popular as it once was, is jazzercise.
It's funny, just someone posted something on my Facebook page yesterday of like these people just going after a jazzercising. I was like, they're asking, could you put that class in your gym? And I'm like, absolutely, dude. I probably still have my old phone, the guitar. You can pull that bugger out and I'll leave some aerobics.
This will be a free class. I'm going to love it. Yeah. So, Evie, what inspired you to get into fitness and coaching then? What was that?
Well, so I left really all that behind at college, and then I was pursuing a career. My intention was to go to law school, but my husband was in medical school at the time. And so I managed a law firm and then just realized that I loved history of law, but I didn't like the practice of it. And so I totally switched gears, and we lived in Houston at the time. And I got involved in the financial industry and really built a successful business there as a portfolio manager. Young, but I've always just been a go-getter. So I was like, I didn't know anybody in Houston, 24 years old, and built a flourishing financial business. And then decided we were going to start our family, got pregnant, and my daughter passed away shortly after she was born. So that just like put the brakes on everything I thought I wanted in my life. And I really just spent probably, year, 2 years, just reevaluating like who I am, and came to this realization that I was never going to spend one day of my life doing something that I wasn't fully passionate about. So like, that's kind of a crazy way to get to fitness, but I realized through all that what drove me, and even in the financial industry and the fitness I'd done in the past, was like, I loved helping people and I loved working with people and getting in there. But like, it wasn't through finances. I wasn't passionate about that. I just needed to make money because my husband was broke and in medical school and residency. So pulled the plug on that, and we moved to Idaho. And I had been boxing at the time, so used fitness as like a release from all that pain that I'd experienced with the loss of my daughter. So that's how the fitness came back into my life. It was like I needed something because I was losing my mind, honestly. And exerting my body was the only thing that actually kept my mind sane at that time. So I was asked by the guys, it was at a CrossFit gym. When we moved up here, I gave up boxing, moved from Houston to Idaho, started doing CrossFit. And that was when CrossFit was like really in its infancy. It was like when they used to have sectionals and there was like 20 people at sectionals, right? And it was like in like an old site, it would be like I think the one up here in the Pacific Northwest was like outside of Seattle where there was dirt all over the floor. Would you have remembered that?
Yeah, I remember. I was at the one in
that was like rope climbs were like the hardest thing anybody was doing, right? It was like in a horse stadium.
Double unders were still huge. Yeah, double unders, you're doing great, right?
When you can double under the dirt, right? So I just was staying home at that point. I wasn't working, and just got was having a lot of fun just being involved in fitness. Was approached by them to start coaching for them. And then as soon as I started coaching, I realized that I really just had a natural knack for it, and people just gravitated towards me. And so I left shortly after and opened my own place, a group fitness facility, and then had that for 5 years and transformed it into a personal coaching facility that we have now, which is like a full wellness center. And we take care of lifestyle, nutrition, life coaching, and writing personal fitness programs for people. So it's been a huge evolution from where I started.
Yeah, that's a really cool story. And just, to relate to it, in 2016, my wife and I, we both, we lost a pregnancy very late. And I think it sent us into a very similar spiral. And it was actually one of the reasons that we are doing what we're doing with our life now. Oh. It's like, we got to the point where we're like, well, what the fuck are we waiting for? What? Like, it's just this, it's this, so I can get it. It's always, everyone has different stories when it comes to something like that, when it comes to loss, but it does, there can be a very big silver lining that comes through it, but the pain in the moment is extreme. So I get it. And I applaud you for making the most of it and going in the right direction and using fitness as your outlet, because there's a lot of different directions you can go at that point in your life. And
lots of bottles of champagne sitting there, right, to like ease that pain when like I know I hate my career. Like I just buried my daughter. Like on Mother's Day, I go out to her grave, right? It's like, man, that is a really hard place to be. But because I took it, and like I take everything as like a blessing in some way. And I don't mean that cliche or that can sound really cheesy, but like you can't have a conversation with me without it involving a lot of discussion on death. Like most people don't want to talk about it, and it's not a downer, right? Like we're all dying. And it's like, I feel like I've been given this grace from God to like embrace death in a way that like makes me live so full every day. It's like I lost my dad when I was 10 to suicide. So I was touched with death really early on. And then being given my daughter who was just sick and not going to live, like God knew that I needed to be her mom, right? And that I was going to like totally make the limited time that she had just a beautiful thing for the world. And it propelled me to then, you know, seek out my daughter who's Chinese. It's like I went all the way across the world to adopt a daughter. Like all those things stemmed from my experience with death, right? And so rather it being something that like scares me, it doesn't scare me. It like makes me excited every day to live rich.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And when I owned my gym, I would always joke, but I wasn't joking. And people, I'd send people on a cool down walk whenever, like, all right, go walk a 200 and contemplate your own mortality, right? And it shouldn't be that thing.
That freaks people out, though. They're like, fuck, I don't want anything to do with her. All she ever does is talk about dying.
I want to cancel my membership. Yeah. This guy's creepy. Yeah, it was, but it's true. If you do take a moment and be like, you know what? Like when I hit 40, I was like, you know, now I'm a statistical halfway point. Am I doing what I want to do? Like it should motivate you. It should get you up, do things every day. And just, yeah, if you're, that thought scares you, then you have some work to do, right? You have to really think about,
because you're not very content with where you are.
Right.
Right? Like I can honestly say, I was just having this conversation with a really good friend with James Fitzgerald and Leanne last night at dinner about death. And we've got a coach here on our staff that was just diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic melanoma. Just turned 60, like they gave him a couple of months to live, right? Like just completely heartbreaking. I can't even do it justice in even talking about it. But it brought this conversation up last night, like, are you afraid to die? And I'm like, short of my daughter needs me, right? Like there was a reason that she came across this world and we were joined together. But shy of like giving her everything she needs in life, like I'm good. Like I wake up every day and I'm just thankful for it and not afraid to die.
Yeah, there's one or as many consistent factors I see amongst people who are leading in the industry or just, you know, simply happy and gratitude, or, you know, gratitude has a different name, which I would just call, what's the word? I'm just being understanding of how lucky you are compared to maybe some other situations that you could easily have fallen into. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big rabbit hole. Let's segue back to fitness a little bit. I think, whether you know it or not, I think something makes you different within the industry, and maybe this experience is part of it. What do you feel differentiates yourself as a coach from other coaches? I know you're not scared to be vulnerable. That's number one, right?
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it, right? Yeah. And I am not afraid of the truth. So most people are afraid of the truth, right? They may not think they are, but the truth is really hard, really hard. And I think because of like my resilience and emotional resilience, that allows me to be okay with hanging out with the truth. And the number one comment I get from people that come and sit in my office is that I make them feel safe. And that's interesting, right? Like an interesting word, if you think about it. It's like, what does safety have to do with fitness? Right? Like that just rattles around in my brain daily. Like, why do I make people feel so safe? And it's because they know they can speak 100% truth to me and that I will speak 100% truth to them, right? But there's no judgment attached to it whatsoever. Because I'm not emotionally attached to anybody I coach, right? At the end of the day, they mean very little. And I don't mean that as like I don't care about people, but in the whole scheme of the world and my life, I help people. I close that door, I go home, and I give my attention to my family and myself and my life. And then I do it again the next day. And so people are able to just let their guard down, talk to me. They know I'm not judging them. I'm going to tell them exactly what they need to hear. And then they're going to go work on implementing it.
Nice. Yeah, that's huge. And I don't know, I'm going to take just a blind statement and just say that I feel that is an advantage of being a female coach at times. You know, it's hard for men to get there.
Yeah.
But they do, as I've been coached by a handful.
And I think if I can interject there, I think what it is it's more than a male female aspect. It's like a masculine and feminine.
Right.
So I'm a female, but I have really strong masculine traits. But I still have this softness of being a female, right? So I feel like I've just got that nice combination of the two. And I think on the male side, those coaches that really get it are the men who are okay with their softer feminine side and realize that doesn't make them less of a man, right? It actually makes you better at being a human being, and especially better at being a coach.
Yeah. And for people who are listening too, when we're talking about masculine and feminine, we're talking about the psychological differences and
and characteristics of
the classical research definition. And like, for example, if you are a man, you're listening to this, or even a woman, and you want to understand more about your man, there's a great book called The Way of the Superior Man. And it's not what it sounds like. It's actually very much getting men to understand that they have both feminine and masculine traits, and how to handle it, right? How to deal with that, and how to embrace that other side that we feel we should push down. Anyway, so I'm curious too, how do you see the evolution of like functional fitness, or just fitness in general? How do you think that's changed how women look at themselves, or how or how people in general look at especially the human, their physicality, how they train and things like that? How do you see that changing right now?
Well, I think probably one of the most beautiful things that came out of, like, we can call it CrossFit or just whatever, like where it started as functional fitness, right? Like for me, I'll refer to it as CrossFit because that's where it started for me, right? That I just told you that I grew up thinking like, I just want to be skinny and that's all that matters, right? And when I started CrossFit, I felt that same way, right? I'm like, I'm just here to look good. I'm not going to put a barbell on my back because I'm not putting freaking weight across me. Like, that scares the shit out of me, right? And I was skinny, but like not strong at all, right? And I think most females particularly start there, right? Like they come in the door just thinking like, well, I just want to look good. And then as soon as I was willing to embrace through functional fitness, like, yeah, it's functional to like bear some load, right? And feeling that and then evolving, which now is funny if you think about it, 8 years later, I'm like I have way more absolute strength than anything else. And people refer to me all the time as like too beefy and all this other shit, right? I'm like, who would have ever thought the girl that walked in that wouldn't jump on a 20-inch box? I would not back squat. Now I'm like too beefy and too muscular, right? But the ability to transform your mind by being open to doing really difficult and load-bearing work that has the ability to like truly change someone's life. Like without sounding overly dramatic, like I see women all the time, like as soon as they realize that they have this internal strength, it carries forward into like every other area of their life, like totally can empower you.
That's awesome. So if you're going to love this question, because you probably heard it just as many times as I have. What happens when someone comes in, they say, I don't want to get bulky. How do you answer that question?
Well, if it's a gal who says, I just say like, we just need to not have a conversation, right? Because I'm super honest. I'm like, I don't sugarcoat this like, oh, well, we'll make sure you're like, we're not making sure of anything. Like physically it's impossible. You're a female, you don't have male hormones at the level to like build this crazy amount of muscle. And I'm like, and you do not get bulky from lifting weight, you get bulky from putting shit in your mouth. Right? Because you and I know that's the truth.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I know.
Like the girls, and that actually is an interesting thing about functional fitness. If you want to like let me go back a little bit to that,
Yep.
is we kind of went to the other extreme though. Like I believe that like there's like what was functional is now like competitive, and people are confusing competitive fitness and functional fitness, right? Because it has to do with what's your function, not like what does the CrossFit Games dictate like is functional. That's skewed. And then you've got, instead of like, oh, like strong is the new skinny, right? Can I say that? Because I think that's actually a brand. I don't mean the brand. I'm just saying people just saying that term, right? Like I have to tell you, that term just pisses me off, because I'm like, no, it's not. You're basically just stereotyping again, and you're applying a new label. So now if you're strong, you're fit. Well, no, you're not, because if you're overly fat, you're not all that healthy. So we went like, okay, now women can just be strong, but if they got a bunch of excess body fat and they're just eating a bunch of stuff because it fits their macros, well then, like, that's okay. No, we swung the pendulum way too far.
Yeah, I love it. And it's funny because my wife, right, who's now my wife, who was my client 6 or 7 years ago, I know, right?
Wow.
How cliche is that? So I remember her coming in my office and sitting down after like 2 weeks of doing CrossFit. And she's like, I'm worried that I'm going to get bulky. I'm like, listen, it doesn't happen. You have to be like the genetic 1%, and you have to eat perfectly. You have to, like you're talking about, it turns out she happens to be close to that 1%.
Oh.
So she did put on a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
But she also became she was a great athlete when she came in. I my wife all day. She ended up beating all my times, Fran. And
oh, doesn't that suck?
Yeah. I did it first, and then I was like, oh, this is great. My ego shrunk a long time ago. So, okay, so let's get back to you. How is your business shifting now? Tell me what you're up to now. How are you shifting? How are you maybe taking advantage of the digital age?
Yeah. Well, so if you can't tell, like you just know me, my personality is that I'm a creator. So I'm just constantly looking in new ways to, one, challenge myself, and then to take the skills that I'm building literally every day and working with people, and then changing it and broadening it. So I feel like I've done what I can do locally, right? Like I've got this awesome team of coaches that I've coached and built, and I've got this great business, and I've helped literally thousands of people in my local community. But I'm like, okay, but what next, right? Because for me, I want to bring it out there into the world. So over the last year, I spent a lot of time really soul searching about like, well, how can I logistically do that? And it was through what you said, it's through technology, right? So like, how can I bring my coaching skill set, and really even more so like my life coaching skill set, and like my knowledge in nutrition and what is functional and what's going to give you good longevity, right? Like being able to take that and then send it out there in the world. And it just looked to me in like online coaching programs, right? Because I have to say too, that like being in the fitness industry is somewhat frustrating with all the like crap and bullshit that's out there.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody thinks they need this complicated program, or like what they have available to them online is like a 20-year-old jumping around in a sports bra, right? Like for DVDs and all these videos. And I'm like, most people don't need that, and they won't stick with it, or we wouldn't have the number of people out there in the world that are overly fat, right? So like people need to learn how to sleep. They need to learn how to eat. They need to learn how to like find peace and calm in their own mind, and then just move their body, right? So I took all those principles and I launched my own new company, and it's in infancy stages, right? And my goals are huge. But I'm super excited about it because I'm just basically delivering truth out there in fitness for what people really need, and trying to drown out some of the bullshit.
Awesome. So give me an example of, if I signed up for your service, what does that look like?
Well, so most people follow me. They follow me because of my blog, because I'm an extensive writer and I write just some good material. That's usually how people will find me. But in order to be able to coach people or help them in other ways, I had to develop some basic products, right? Like that has to come. And so we started with our Lotus Nutrition meal plans. So I just compiled like everything that I've eaten, and it wasn't rocket science, right? It was a lot to implement and put together. But it didn't have to be complicated. I took everything that I've eaten and fed my family over the last 7 years and put it into a weekly meal plan. So shopping list, right? You sign up with me, you get a shopping list every Sunday. Oh, sorry, every Friday. I think it goes out. Yeah, it goes out on Friday, so you can have the weekend to prep. Shopping list that's cost effective, no brainer. It's all healthy food, and you don't need to weigh and measure it, right? And something I didn't mention, like I'm a fabulous cook and love to cook. And those years I spent home, not coaching and stuff, like that's what I did. So I just took those two things, wonderful food, made it super easy and healthy, right? And put it all together. So I can now help teach people like how to eat. And it's not a diet plan, so they don't have to follow it like to a T, but they have every idea in there about like what it looks like to actually eat real food. So that was the first thing that we launched. And then just as of recently on the coaching side, because most people just need the basic lifestyle put in place, I developed a program that's called Couch to Confidence. And it's a progressive program. So there's Couch to Confidence 101, 102, 103, where people are doing it with me online in a small group. We limited it to 20 people for the first launch. They get their program each week, which is like, I want you to walk. I want you to get sunshine on your face. You're going to prep your food on Sundays, right? And then we did some really basic core movements. And the cool thing that I did with it is the demo videos for like, let's just say a plank, right? I got a male client of ours and a female who is like extremely over fat. And they are demoing the movements along with me.
Nice. I like it. I love it.
That idea, man, like I'm going to like toot my own horn over that because it woke me up in the middle of the night. I'm like, what happens if you're really overly fat? And then you just get on and you watch me do a plank. You're like, I don't freaking look like that. Right? I'm still eating. So how about see someone that actually looks like you working hard? So those are in there. And then every Friday we have a webinar. So then everybody has access to me just like this for 30 minutes every Friday where we check in. I teach them something that we focused on that week, give them the motivation and a little pep talk to keep on for the next week.
I love it. So there's, I was talking to another guest on this show because, as fitness professionals, and I love talking to fitness professionals because everyone in the industry, mostly everyone really wants to help people.
Oh yeah.
And, as a gym owner, I can only help people who had the courage to walk into my gym, right? Could afford it.
Yep.
But what about everybody else? I mean, that's like
everybody else, which is
everybody else is a big number.
Everyone in the world.
Yeah, everyone in the world, and this huge issue that we have with obviously obesity and so many health issues that are bad now, but gonna get worse coming down the pipe. And I applaud people like you who are really tackling that, and not scared to, because most people will be like, it's much easier just to deal with the private training client who's willing to pay me $150 an hour, and great, that's my living. But what about everyone? Because it's challenging, and sometimes all people need is like, you know what? You're right. Get up and walk. Okay, let's get you to drink a gallon of water every day.
Correct.
That's it. That's all you need to do, and it's so powerful. There's a client I had who was over 400 when we started. And, the first things I had him do is like, hey, I just want you to walk into the gym. Let's just start with that. I'll meet you there. Maybe we'll do something. Maybe we won't. No pressure. Let's get in that habit of just coming in and then drinking water. And that was it. And then, day after day after day, it gets to be something more powerful. But everybody wants to throw these complex programs and show how much they know, when really, if you know enough, all you need to do is just start with the basics.
Absolutely. And, like for owning a gym, it would be easy for me to just say, oh yeah, everybody needs a coach and you need a complex program. And that is the right thing for a lot of people, but not for the vast majority of people, because they're not there, right? They're not there yet.
Yeah.
And like tackling this crowd, the masses who are very unhealthy, like reliant on all sorts of medications, right? Like, what about those people? Those people are hard to coach. Let's just be honest. Like,
very much.
That's hard because they have ingrained habits that have gotten to them to this place. Trying to undo that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
But the awesome thing about it is that the people that I have that are signing up for that are like willing to be patient, right? And that's huge because the reality is every one of them have done everything out there. They've tried every fad diet. They've tried every challenge. They've tried everything and it hasn't worked because nobody ever really brought to the table all the basic guidelines in their lifestyle that needed to be laid first.
Yep, I totally agree. So would you say that is, and let's expand on that, would you say that's your ideal client, your client avatar? And dive deeper into who that person is.
Well, honestly, it's been really challenging to figure out who that is because like the people we just talked about, right? On medications, don't sleep, or all sorts of diabetic, anything else, or overly fat, right? They know they need the basic guidelines and they know that they need to like change habits in their everyday life. So that's kind of like a given. Those people like seek me out and they know this program's for them. Who doesn't know this program is for them are people that are like running this rat race and they're like, but I'm not overly fat, right? I go to the gym every day, but it's like my cortisol levels are like off the charts. I have no sex drive, right? But I don't look fat, so I'm probably pretty fit. Those people need it too. They just don't know.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge for that and like just me presenting it and even like naming it Couch to Confidence is that I somewhat kind of like isolated the heavier people and think like, okay, those people that are quote unquote more fit because they're not overly fat don't need it because they're not on the couch. But under the hood, like we do a lot of stuff for hormone testing and everything else here. Like under the hood, they're a pretty big train wreck too.
Yeah. And I can say I was a huge wreck about 5 years ago. Right when I started working with James Fitzgerald, I was a huge wreck. And I was at like probably the lowest body fat I was ever at. Right. I was competing, double days, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But when the blood test came back, everything fell into place. I was like, that's why I feel like shit. That is why I'm depressed. That is why. And, we look back and my wife laughed. She's like, you ate like a bird. You ate like, I was doing my little paleo meals, right?
That's me.
Macros. I was like, yeah, it's.
I went through that exact same scenario. So like I just, CrossFitting, high intensity all the time, right? With no real direction in it either. So I was my own coach. So it was like, I did what I like to do. And then just wearing out my adrenals, I had zero testosterone. All of a sudden my lift started going down. I did a photo shoot during that time. And it's like, I look like the bomb. Right? You're like, man, she's 40. Like, that's awesome. But I was a complete train wreck underneath the hood.
Yeah.
And same thing. And that's when I sought out James and OPEX and everything else because I was like, what I'm doing isn't working. Like, I need help. And I need, if I'm going to do this kind of exercise, I need help with the lifestyle portion of it as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's a tough person to talk to until you get that opportunity to talk one-on-one, right? Like, hey, I'm going to ask you some choice questions here. I want you to be completely honest. Yeah. And then you can start opening that conversation because it takes a little while. But usually once you can break through that, it's very powerful because they're like, oh, someone understands. Someone gets what I'm feeling right now. So that's really interesting. So Evie, where do you see your business in 2 years? Where do you see it?
Oh, geez, that's a hard question. You know me well enough to go I'm always just I don't know, wherever my staff and my whole team takes me. Yeah. I'll just keep on producing good ideas and then everybody else has to rein me in. I really, I'm just going to say it. This is an ability to be vulnerable, right? I am going to be a household name. That's just a fact, right? I'm going to educate people. I'm going to stop all the crazy bullshit that's out there in fitness just to make money, right? Because I don't do this to make money. That's just a reality. It's I never have. It's comical, right? You ran my analytics. What did I I had made $1. My competitors were making millions and I made $1. I mean, good to make money while I'm doing it, but it's just never been the driving force, right? Yeah. So keeping on with my why, I just know why I need to do what I need to do. And it really is to help people and get people to respect and love their body and love to be alive and not just exist. And it's going to come in the form of these online programs that we're just going to build an audience and spread and spread and spread and educate. And then when people feel it in their own body, they're even more patient and willing to like go through the real process.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's huge. And I have zero doubt that you will be a
Well, we'll replay this someday because like I say,
yeah.
I'm like, all right. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, dude, don't doubt me. Like, don't doubt me. When you doubt me, like that even drives me harder.
Yeah.
I am going to be known in every household as someone that actually really is compassionate and caring and wants to help the world find fitness and health. Like not Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, like the world.
Yes. Love it. So where do people find you, Evie?
EvieFatz.com. Can I just tell you, this is kind of funny. Like my marketing director insisted that we just call my business my name, and it felt so like almost narcissistic to me. I can't lie. It did. I was like, Evie Fatz, like you're like, well, who the hell are you? Why do we care? Right? But
Yeah.
like they will care. And so you have to name it you, like, cause that really is what your business is. It's you and access to you and your knowledge. Like, so that's what we opted for, Evie Fatz.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I think you are the brand. And, similar to, Luke Hyam, who was on this earlier, he's doing a very similar thing for men, specifically for men. Mm-hmm. And I think it's great. I see it as the next evolution of so many fitness professionals is just owning themselves as a brand and really knowing their why and pushing forward relentlessly, which I see is what you're doing. So, Evie, thank you. I love working with you. You're the best.
Yeah, me too. I always look forward to our conversations.
Yeah. And we'll chat with you soon. Everybody, please get a hold of Evie if you want. Awesome. And if you need more information, it's just eviefatz.com. Thanks, Evie.
Thanks, Eric. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Future of Fitness podcast and webinar series. We're working really hard here to keep great content coming out. And we'd like to express our gratitude by offering you a free 7-day marketing crash course. So here's how you can claim it. If you go to fitnessmarketingalliance.com/free gift, FREEGIFT, and you enter the promo code FITMARK, FITMARK, you can claim it that way. The other way is you can text us. So you can text the phone number 805-619-5550, and you text the word FITMARK, FITMARK. So thank you. Keep listening. Go claim that offer. It's a ton of value. And if you ever want to get a hold of me, or if you have suggestions for guests, topics, or anything else, or if you just want to ask me questions, I always respond. You can reach me at Eric, ERIC, at fitnessmarketingalliance.com. And keep listening. We have a lot more coming down the pipe, and we'll make sure that we're keeping the value great for you guys. And farewell till next time.